Good morning. You're listening to the BLAINESWORLD webcast that can be found each week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it, you can find us. I'm the host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here with three guests from an interesting organization known as Wildflower House. And what I'll do is I'll introduce three of them and I'll ask you to talk about, kind of your backgrounds if you would. But first of all, I'd like to say welcome to Melanie. Mitchell Robinson, also to Amanda Pace Kollar, and Shirley Pace. What you can do, folks, is you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. Okay, so we
Hello.
wave. And wait, we have another guest. We have your pup with you also.
Yes, this is Mr. Wiggles.
Okay, Mr. Wiggle. We'll have to bring him
Still
into
the
the
show
process.
there, Wiggles.
Mr. Wiggle as well. Okay, what I'd like to do, since the first time we've all met, I'll just ask a couple of general questions to get to your background. So the first question I'll ask Melanie is, a child you grew up where?
I grew up here in Asheville. I'm a real native. I think a unicorn is what I hear.
Okay, so a real native. And so you grew
Yeah.
up in Asheville. As a child growing up in Asheville, did you always know you wanted to be involved with a nonprofit organization like this?
I did not even know what nonprofits were,
Right.
but very involved in my church and faith community, did a lot of work um, outside of the church. So it seems like a natural fit.
Okay. And so you were doing work as church volunteer. Were you doing other kinds of work as well?
Yeah, I mean, my whole background is education and ministry, and so it's just kind of morphed into the nonprofit world, and especially working with the unhoused. And so, even though I didn't know really what that was, it became a real natural thing for me to pursue. Yeah.
And so what's known as Wildflower House, that was started when?
Mandy, you want to answer that?
Yeah, that was no November 22nd of 2022,
Okay, and
about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
we'll talk in a second about how that got off the ground. But since Amanda, we mentioned you, same question. You grew up as a child where?
I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay, and again, as a young woman in Tallahassee, Florida, was your goal to be involved in a nonprofit organization?
I wouldn't say that as a young person growing up that it really ever crossed my mind, but um, I'm joined here with my mother, Shirley Pace is my mama, and my mother and father really introduced me at a young age to giving to others, right? Just helping. And the my mom and my dad both were a wonderful example, and I know Melanie's parents were a wonderful example to her as well. And it just seemed natural. I mean, there are a lot of reasons that we might have time to get into later as to how this particular how we actually got where we are and what drove me to do some of the things that I've done. But in terms of just growing up, no, it was just watching my mom and dad.
And what you said kind of amazed me because I'm looking at your mom here, and I was thinking you were going to tell me that was your younger sister.
Oh yes.
So
Oh,
I find this hard to believe that this is your mom,
oh
but
my goodness, you
but
made my day.
okay, well, you could have fooled me. But the same question. So you raised your daughter, but again, you're from Tallahassee as well, Florida area?
I
Sure.
was I was actually raised down in Lakeland, Florida.
Okay.
I've been a Floridian almost my entire life, but later on, my then husband and I moved to Tallahassee, and I was there for 50 years. I have just recently moved up here to Asheville to join my daughter and her family.
Okay, so she was here first, and you joined them, and
Yes,
then the nature of it, I guess, she then got you involved in this organization.
that's exactly right. If you had asked me if I had considered a future in this sort of work, I would have said a resounding no. I mean, I am old, and back when I was young, no, there was just not that piece of it. We were in church and we were good Christians and we did that sort of thing, but I never even thought about ministering to other people out in the world. No.
In Florida, did you work outside the home?
No, I did not until I became a divorce lady. And then I started working outside the home. And my career, so to speak, was in senior housing. And so that was a really good jumping point to what Wildflower House is doing now with their furniture. So I didn't think about it, but they have kind of come together beautifully for me. Yes.
Mhm.
Now, I got how you and your daughter are involved in this, but the question is, I guess, both the two of you, Amanda and Melanie, how do you bump into each other? How do you get cross paths?
Mel,
Great question. You want me to start,
Yeah, that'd
Amanda?
be great.
tell
Okay.
them how we fell in love.
We actually met through Trinity United Methodist Church, and that's the church that I grew up in. And during COVID, the last year of COVID, Trinity was asked to do an emergency shelter during what we call Code Purple. And I had met Amanda a little bit prior to that, and she had had a lot of experience in working with unhoused folks. And I actually called her and said, "Can I come over and would you help me know what to do?" Because at the time I was an interim pastor at Trinity, and we had a fairly good group of unhoused folks that would hang out at the church. And I was really intimidated by it. And so Amanda said, "Mel, they're just like us. They have names, they have families, and you just start off by introducing yourself." And so I was able to start doing that. And then we were invited to have a shelter at the church. And Amanda and I became really good friends, and being one of, I guess, two of three operations managers for that shelter. And so that's really how we connected.
Now, you said you got connected that way. Amanda, had you had experience or background working with the homeless?
I guess I'll jump into it. So in 2014, my husband passed away, and I had a little boy. His name is Harrison. He's a little bigger now, but he was 3.5 at the time. And when I lost my husband, it was very abrupt. He died of a heart attack, August of 2014. For anybody, and I know there are a lot of folks out there that have experienced extreme loss, but it is extreme and it's hard. And so the way that I chose to handle some of those super big emotions, the only thing I could think of was to do what I had been taught, and that was to go out and give out of your grief, out of your suffering, right? You just go into the street and you start doing something. And that was like a balm for me. And so I wasn't housing or feeding or doing anything prior to his death. So I want to say I took Harrison as a 3-year-old out into the streets November of 2014, and we're still in the streets. And it's been a beautiful way to process through a lot of that grief. I mean, that's the story.
And if you would then fast forward to then you mentioned in the year 2014 to when then Wildflower House got off the ground. How'd that
Okay.
happen?
So so we were in Tallahassee, Florida when my husband passed. And then about 2.5 years after Bill passed, my son and I fell in love with an organic farmer, and his name is Frank. And so Frank is the one that brought us up to Asheville in 2018. And then I was really incubating there for a while, wasn't doing a whole lot of anything. Sometimes it's really smart to just be for a little bit. And that's really what I was doing. And then it was like Melanie was saying, I think it was around November of 2020 that she and I got together. We had the opportunity to help help run the Trinity Winter Shelter for about 6 months. That ended. No, got to keep. There's going to be a test later, right, on all the dates. But that ended March 31st of 21. And at the end of that serve offering, let's say, there were 6 women that Melanie and I had fallen in love with that were literally going to be put out on the street. And it just was not, we just couldn't do that. Mel and I, we figured out a way. We went and spoke with an amazing man named Bruce Mulkey, who at the time was running Jubilee community
Sure.
down. Are you familiar?
Right.
Right downtown. Yeah. And so they said, bring your folks, set up, have a shelter, free of charge, have our entire first floor. And so we did that. We opened on, it took us 18 days with their help to set up housing for now, what, 10 women in the beginning. So that six that had been with us at the winter shelter came, and then an additional 4 women. And so we were doing this without being an official nonprofit. We called ourselves Jubilee Alternative Micro Shelter, JAMS for short, and we ran it for an entire year. During that year, there were times that we had as many as 25 to 30 people, but for the most part, we kept it right at about between 10 and 15. We served a lot of different types of people. We were trying to fill in some gaps in services at the time. So folks with, well, I don't know that we had animals. We did that at the winter shelter, but intact families, trans, folks in wheelchairs, women with incontinence. There were a lot of folks that just couldn't have been anyplace else. So it was.
These folks at the time were staying at Jubilee?
Yes, first floor.
The whole 24/7 they were there, living there?
Yes. Well,
they
they during the day. I mean, I think
during the day,
they left at 10 and came back at 4, but they
Yeah.
lived there. I mean, we had beds, we had food, the whole thing. And so to get back to your original question, how did Wildflower House, how was it born out of this? We had several people donating some funds, and Melanie and I got together and we were like, listen, this feels like the right thing to do. And we had an attorney here in town that volunteered and helped us get everything set up. So we became official November 22nd.
And give a shout out to that attorney
Van Bogle.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, so that's get off the ground, and that's a big step unto itself. Just
absolutely
starting a nonprofit. So fortunately, I had him helping you out to make it easier. So how long did it take you to become a nonprofit?
Oh, I mean, it doesn't take long. It took maybe 3 or 4 weeks to get all the paperwork done, but we were official on November 22nd of 22. Became Wildflower House. And by that time, there were a few folks staying at Jubilee at our shelter that needed more permanent housing. So Melanie and I had an opportunity, another group. Mel, what's the whole name? Sunrise Recovery?
It's Sunrise Recovery, but
and Wellness.
In wellness, yeah, wellness agency, recovery and wellness. I think what's really fun about this story is that one of the women that was staying with us at Jubilee was going to what is a respite house that was in West Asheville, and the respite house allowed folks to sign up for a week at a time. And Lily came back one day and said, Sunrise is closed in this house. They're going to go to a bigger house. And it was perfect timing because we were going to have to close because Jubilee sold their building. And Amanda got on it. I mean, called immediately to the owner and got information about when Sunrise was closing. And so it was like this seamless opportunity, literally, that Sunrise moved out, and then we took possession of the house, and we were able to start what became a very important part of Wildflower House at the time, was having a home that we could bring women into. And that's really kind of, what Wildflower House morphed into, from the emergency shelter model to more of a transitional housing, permanent housing.
The Wildflower House, where's it located?
Well, Wildflower House is really the nonprofit, right?
Gotcha.
So underneath it, we have something called the Sims Cottage, and that's what Mel's talking about. And we call it the Sims Cottage because Mr. and Mrs. Sims gave us $10,000 to get that house up and running. So we named it for them, and it's been running now 2 years. It opened up October of 22, and it's been running, 2.5 years. It's been fantastic.
So if you would, Melanie, in terms of it running, what does that mean?
That means operating, basically, is that what we've learned is we lease the home from a incredible woman, Fran, who also leases another house to Sunrise, the group that had been in what we're calling Sims Cottage. And so what we do is lease it from her, and then we're like, I guess we're still property managing basically. And the difference is we're not just renting space, we're all about relationship. And that's important. That's been important to us since we were at Trinity and getting to know folks, that it's a holistic approach, that we're not what we would call caseworkers. We're certainly not that. But we build relationships with these folks, and a lot of times we are able to connect them with others. But it's more about independent living because these women do have jobs, most of them have. And so it's running in the fact that we are very closely tied to them and we help them. We pick up rent, that kind of thing. And we have meetings the first Monday of the month just to check in. And we have dinner sometimes. So we still hold a really important key to being involved in their lives. And that's something we hope to do, keep
And
doing.
how many women are involved at any one time?
3. We have 3 rooms.
Okay.
Yep,
And
that's what I was going to say. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
Yeah.
So each of the rooms have their own keypad locks on them. There's a master, then there's, 2 other bedrooms. So there's 3 women that stay there. They do pay to be there. They don't pay all of the cost of the house and bills and the upkeep and whatnot. We what's the
Right.
word?
Prorated.
Subsidy.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
and how long are they there for?
as long as they need to be. So
Good.
we've had one woman that moved in October. She's been there 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we don't have very much turnover. I mean, people are there and they like to be there.
And let's bring your mom into the focus because I love how it was described on stuff what you sent me. Shirley will be working with Wildflower House clients to create homes that are welcoming and safe. Shirley, you want to talk about that, if you would?
Sure, I would be happy to. I think that one of the reasons that the Wildflower House, the Sims Cottage, was so meaningful to Mel and to Mandy was because they would be able to provide a home that these ladies could make theirs. There was no, as she just mentioned, there was no time frame. We were not saying you're signing a 6 months lease. You're signing a year lease. We are saying this is your permanent home if you choose for it to be. And so they had a sense of security that this was their place. And so one of the things that we felt like was really important, and that's kind of how I first got involved because I'm a furniture junkie. There's just no other word for it. I love furniture. I love decorating. And so Mandy said, Mother, we've got to put this house together. And I was like, I'm right there. I'm there. Tell me what you need. And so we tried to make each room appeal to what we knew of the lady who was going to be moving into it. Sometimes we got it right. One time we got it terribly wrong. She and I both love pink. We had a gorgeous pink comforter. The lady walked in and said, oh dear, I hate pink. So immediately, I think it was before nightfall, we had gotten her a different comforter. But it's their room, but we have provided some furniture that is certainly, they have the ability to say, well, I have my own desk. Well, great, put your desk in. And so from that experience, which really was so fun for all of us, and by all, I mean the ladies and the group that were working with them at the house, it was really a lot of fun. So when we started thinking about, and this is probably a little early to throw this in, but when we started thinking about what our response to the flood, as we referred to it, how are we going to respond? Because we have a home that's full of ladies and we don't have a shelter anymore. So what can we do? And so one of the things that we thought about, well, we sure did have a good time hunting up furniture for people and making a home for them with their input. And that's a very strong component of it, with their input. And so as people were getting new places to live, as they were building places, and it continues, of course, we're in the still not even halfway through, we thought, where are they going to get furniture? Everything that they own is gone. Their house is destroyed. Someone has provided a place for them to live, but to what end? That there's nothing for them to take. No beds, no couch, no can opener, no nothing. And so we felt like, wow, maybe that's where we need to pivot and put our energy in trying to provide, to make those houses a home.
So talk about that then. So you have, I got it, the 3 women are staying permanently or as long as they want.
Right.
And are you servicing then other women as well, or are you helping the people you used to service?
No, at this point, we will only be serving people who are looking for furniture. It's a whole program. There's things that will be done. They will be sponsored. They will put a little bit of money into it, just, and I don't know how much time we have to get into how it's going to be set up, but we would be delighted to go into that. But it will be families at a time. We will be, it's not going to be like a come in and here's a table, here's a chair. It will be, come today. We have 3 homes, furniture, vignettes set up, and you come in and you walk through and you tell us which one appeals to you, which I just love, because everybody wants to have a hand in their own creation of their safe place. And so that's what I love.
So when people see this area, this is separate then from the place where the 3 women are staying?
Yes, that's under the umbrella. That's still under the umbrella of Wildflower House, but it's 2 different programs.
Got you. And so this program, so where's the furniture stored, or where do they come look at the furniture, or how is that done?
Well, actually, that's what we're in the middle of.
We're working on.
That's what we're working on. That's right. There will, of course, be a warehouse. Mandy, Mel, want to jump on that?
I was just going to say, go ahead.
No, what I was just going to throw in was I was very complimented to be invited to be on the board. And so I'm not the management team. There they sit. I'm part of the board. And the board, we meet and try to help them go through the ideas and suggestions and things that they want to do. So I'm also involved in the, kind of the umbrella part of it too.
But this is something, Amanda, as I'm listening to your mom talk, that here she comes up from Florida and she just gets off the boat and you put her to work.
I know.
You're supposed to be enjoying life, the easy retirement. It sounds like you're keeping her busy, are you?
You know what, Blaine? That's what I kept telling her. I said, and to be perfectly serious, I will admit this to you. She is my daughter and I love her to death, but there is a part of her that I don't recognize because I am not good the way she is with building instant relationships with people on the street. This has been a journey for me. And when Melanie said earlier something about they have names, they have families, look them in the eyes and talk to them. I'm slowly getting really, really comfortable. But I tell you what, I can put together a cool room for them.
Well, that's an interesting thing you just said, Shirley, and I'll ask Melanie and Amanda as well. So how did you pick up that skill, or just kind of evolved, or you just always had it? It's interesting what you might
I
didn't get the question.
When I was married, it was back during the time where houses were easier to buy.
Right.
And the interest rates were low. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I had taken a couple of classes in college in interior design. And so my husband would go off to work to earn our living, and I would redo the house and redo the yard and hang wallpaper and paint, and then we'd sell the house and turn around and buy another one. So I did 14 of them. in about a 25-year span. Had to stop after a while because you couldn't buy and sell as easily. And I was getting older and it wasn't quite as much fun doing all the hard work, although the decorating was something that I have loved since I was a teenager and have done that just for my family and my relatives forever. Yes. And
So
it's
you were actually flipping houses a lot before it became
basically
popular.
that's
A lot
Yeah,
of people.
but it wasn't like
yeah,
really flipping. It was flipping before flipping was flipping.
Well,
right.
that's
You
what
know,
I'm
like
saying.
I love that. I love that. Flipping. That was the first flipper.
No, but again, it became popular last number of years, but to do 14 of those in 25 years. Now, let me just ask you one other question. So you were getting a house and then getting somebody else. Is that where you were living to, or you were you moving, Amanda, as a child? Did you move 14 times? Was
Yes.
that how it
yeah,
worked?
I did. I
Yes,
did.
Wow. Because that was long before it became as popular as it is now.
that's
So
right.
were you moving out of the area, or were you sometimes having to switch schools too, or was it always in the same
No,
area?
not really. I mean, it was always Northeast Tallahassee, just in different neighborhoods.
Okay.
It didn't feel like it was anything. It was just like, oh, yay, we go get to another house.
Another house.
Which room is mine?
Were you going to different schools at the time too?
I don't think that I changed schools with the
No,
exception of
no.
going elementary to middle to high school. I never had to like change in the middle of middle school because
Right.
of mother's,
Right. We stayed in this in kind of, as Mandy said, the northeast section of Tallahassee. Tallahassee is small, and so it was very easy to do that. But I will tell you that when I was growing up, my father was moving up in the grocery business, shall we say. And when you do that, you get transferred a lot to different grocery stores, or not different stores, but stores within the chain. And so during my middle school, not my high school, but my grammar school and middle school, we were moving like every 2 or 3 years as he got promoted. So I was really used to that. That was something that was not weird for me.
But Amanda, it's going to be something, I guess, that your son is never going to have to go through too. So unless you're going to be doing it with him as well, but he's going to be staying in the same house for the most part.
Pretty
For the
much.
most part.
Okay.
For the most part.
For the most part.
Yes,
Yeah.
once was enough. So let's talk back to the organization itself. So you've been in business for a couple of years here. Talk about how the community can get involved in working with you folks.
Absolutely. So anyone that wants to look us up, we encourage them to go to wildflowerhouse.org. Now, if they go tonight, they're going to find a website that does not accurately describe our offerings in the world, but it will very soon because we've pivoted. So prior to Helene, we were really more in sheltering. That was our big offering, right? And so now we're talking about helping people turn a house into a home, and that's different. So we're not helping people find housing, just like Mel said. We're not what is it? Social workers. We're not peer support specialists. We're not out
Case
there looking for the
managers.
homes. But
Yeah.
once they find the homes, then we can help put the furniture together for them. So
I
yeah.
think, I'm sorry, Blaine, go ahead.
Please, yeah. if you think
Just
what-
wanted to piggyback on what Amanda's saying and what Shirley has said, that our mission remains the same in that going back to Sims Cottage, even when we had a shelter, we knew how important it was to create a beautiful space. That dignity and self-worth comes from when you have a beautiful space to live in. And so, yes, we're pivoting to furniture, but it's still the same, is that, Shirley being our design interior person, and of course, Amanda has that gift as well, is that it's all about providing a beautiful space and bringing dignity and worth, restoring value to not just a space, but to the person, to the family. And so that remains the foundation of who Wildflower House is. Whether it's at this point, we're not focusing on actual sheltering, but still the emphasis and focus on providing and creating beautiful spaces is so much of who we are. And so being able to pivot right now because of the need that happened because of the hurricane, there's really, as you know, a lot of folks out there that have been traumatized and they need help. And sometimes they don't know what is available and how they can get back into a safe, beautiful space. And so that's what we're looking forward to. And ladies, we've been able to start doing that a little bit. But we aren't fully ready to do that yet. And so, as Amanda said, our website is going to really be able to project and tell, say more about that. But we're looking forward to folks who want to get involved by donating uh, financially or in kind donations like furniture and things like that. And I'm going to let y'all talk a little bit more on the details of that.
But even
Yep.
before we do that, let me just ask you, so if folks do want to get involved, you mentioned,
Mhm.
Amanda, the website. What is that website? And that's the best place to start?
Yep. It's wildflowerhouse.org. And Melanie just said something that I really want to make sure everyone understands at this point, and that is that we stopped serving. So as soon as the storm hit, we found ourselves trying to decide how to serve, how could we pivot to help as many people, but still within our mission, right? And so this came about, and we just started helping. I mean, people were donating furniture. My carport was full. Mother's carport, Mel's car. I mean, it was mayhem, and we had 5 or 6 families that we were trying to help, and we were not doing a great job because we had just decided to pivot, and we didn't have the capacity to serve in a way that was going to be profound. It just wasn't. So we made the decision in January to wait to find a bigger space. Trinity United Methodist Church has given us 780 square feet, which is incredible, and we are so very grateful. It's not a lot of space when you think about taking in all this furniture, because it just becomes quickly a lot of chaos. So, one of the ways that someone could get involved if they were to see this and they happen to know of some really affordable warehouse space, or they wanted to donate a warehouse space, we desperately, desperately need, I mean, 5, 6, 7,000 square feet. There is a nonprofit in Raleigh, North Carolina called the Green Chair Project, and they have taken us under their wing. No, they're like $3 million operating budget. They've got 16,000 square feet. They've been helping people in this same capacity, outfitting homes for 15 years. So they're way ahead of us. And Raleigh, and in particular, the Green Chair Project has been looking for ways to get involved in WNC in some of the relief response. And so part of that has looked like them inviting us to come over and visit with them to see how they're operating, and then them training us, and then them coming over here and helping us. So we're hoping that in the next 3 or 4 months, hopefully, we will have a much bigger space to operate out of, so that we can take in more furniture, because that's what we really need is furniture from folks, so that Mother and her team can put together some beautiful vignettes so that some families can come in and pick out what speaks to them so they can create that safe place.
You talk about that process then. So I think I love what you said, Melanie, about pivoting. And I think that's to credit of the organization, because so many folks don't do that. They start an organization and just stays that way. So you're changing with the times. If somebody's watching this or listening to this and is interested in not only the organization, but the furniture you have access to or are going to be getting, how do they hook into that? And is that a first come, first served basis, or is that a lottery? How do you do that?
We're working on it. I
Well,
think
the community
I think
partner, that's
Blaine,
exactly.
well,
Yeah.
we are working on what will be a referral system.
Gotcha.
Meaning that we are now looking for other agencies and folks that we will call our referral partners. Because we've talked a lot about different agencies here in town who are familiar more than we are with folks who presently are in need of furniture. And so uh, Amanda brought up the green chair in Raleigh, and one of the things that they've learned over the last 15 years is that it works better to have families referred to them rather than opening up like a retail store. And that way, folks, and Shirley mentioned vignettes, folks are able to choose, what they need, what they like from what has already been put together. And it makes it more efficient. And I think that's very important, is that we're able to have families get what they need, and caseworkers, agencies that know who these families are, know them better than we do. And so that's what we're looking to do. And we're not quite ready to do that yet. As Amanda was saying, we're building an infrastructure right now in our team. And our hope is to begin really, we got to have a space to put all these furniture in. But going back to how we're going to connect families is we're depending on our referral partners to help us do that.
And I could just see, I'm looking at Shirley, and I could just see her chomping at the bit. She's just waiting to, get involved in this. Even though I'm looking, Shirley, it looks like a nice place where you're staying at there. We could put maybe a couple thousand pieces of furniture in your house right there, and just squeeze it in.
A son who is living with me at the present, if he heard you say that, he would explode. Every day he's like, Mother, get rid of something. Don't bring anything new in unless something goes out.
And by the way, that's a great philosophy. People tell in general that before you buy something, one person I heard Shirley say with clothes, especially before you buy one clothes, I get rid of two things, not just one on one. But I guess, Shirley, in your case, I guess there are people in the area, though, who probably do have furniture they'd be willing to give or get rid of or out of their house. And that's where you come into play.
Right. And one of the things that we also will be investigating, because we will have to have our own truck so that we can make deliveries and we can do pickups. But yes, absolutely. We will be, and that I think probably, Blaine, is going to be just a lot of it will be word of mouth, as friends are talking. And that's where a lot of our stuff has come from so far. Oh gosh, they'll call Mel, or they'll call, one of us and say, listen, my next door neighbor's getting ready to move. Do you want to talk to her about some of her furniture? And so we've moved forth, in situations like that. Now, as we start doing fundraising and as we start calling on these community partners, then the word will get out more and it will be more of an official program. Right now, while we're still waiting to just, jump out and start serving, we do fortunately have a team member who has a little extra space in her basement. And so we have been able to take advantage of that to put some things that have become offered to us. But it's looser right now just because we're still in the putting it together, the guts and things. But that will be really important because.
And one idea I'm hearing you give both Melanie and Amanda, and consider the other board members as well, you might want to think about putting together, like on the website, a wish list. Because I've just heard now, you wouldn't think of, furniture, but then you don't think about the truck you need. You need somebody to donate the truck. And that's where I'll ask Amanda, in terms of the website, I don't know if you have it there, but if folks want to get involved, to volunteer, to become part of your organization, what are you looking for, Amanda?
So really right now there's not, and I'll just be real honest, there's not a whole lot for a lot of volunteers. I've got, we are taking in some, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he meant like in furniture.
Well, furniture, but in general, if they want to just
In general,
volunteer.
for right now, yeah, right now, like we've got a couple of volunteers that come in and organize linens and help us in that 780 square feet in that space. But for the most part, until we start serving, I mean, right now is almost 100% of our efforts are in building capacity, right? So it's writing grants. We have a grant writer on our team. We're so grateful for Kelsey. We've got Melanie is heading up the community partners team. We've got someone creating all the programs that have anything to do with donating anything. One of the things that's really, really important to us is that there are new items that are given. So it's not all gently used furniture that we're giving away. Every person that comes to us is going to be a new bed. It's going to be new sheets. It's going to be new towels. It's going to be a new shower curtain, a new bath mat. Those items are super important. So right now, I always just hate asking for money, but we are trying to, and we have been collecting it already. 100% of the funds that people are donating to us are going to accumulate some of those items, right? One of the things, I was getting my nails done earlier today, and the woman sitting next to me was telling me, I mean, she and I have become friends because we've gone and gotten our nails done to run into each other twice. And her mother lives in Pisgah View Apartments, and there is a family of 7 people living next door to her, and 5 of those kids are sleeping on the floor. And I just immediately turned to her and said, no children on the floor, no children on the floor. 100%, absolutely not. Not on the couch, not on the floor. And that's something that we have taken from this beautiful group, the Green Chair Project over in Raleigh. They have a program called Sweeter Dreams, and all children get brand new beds and brand new mattresses. And so that's something we want to put into place too. So all those funds that I'm hoping some people might want to part with can go to helping in some of those really important capacities.
And I'll have Melanie kind of conclude on that point, is that people are listening to the show, they're seeing some of the cool stuff you're planning on doing. And if they actually want to get involved in terms of making a financial contribution, I assume that's welcome at this point in time, Melanie?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's really one of the things. Everybody knows somebody. And so we want to start with who do we know? And that's something folks who are listening in right now is any gift is acceptable. Small gift, large gift, because it will go to helping whether it's a mattress or towels or these items that Amanda said, is don't allow yourself to not give because it can't be $500. If it's $25, no matter what amount. And also just contact us through the website. You can go to info@wildflowerhouse.org, which will send a message to us with any questions on what we refer to as in-kind giving, which would be the actual things. I would even say pillows, brand new pillows and sheets and things like that. We definitely want to provide some of the items as brand new, those soft items. So, or if your office would like to have a contest, and say, okay, for the month of March, we're going to be seeing who can bring in the most comforters or towels or whatever, have a little in-office contest. And that's a fun way to get folks involved. So, or your home association, homeowners association, there's civic clubs. However, folks that are listening and want to get involved with the group or offices or wherever they are, those are really fun ways to engage and help us provide for others.
And final question, if you would, if folks want to get involved or get engaged, best bet again, we said was the website. And if you would repeat that website once again.
Wildflower House.
Well,
Got it, girl.
we got a trio. That was great. Hey guys, this was great. Thanks for joining me. And what you have to keep in mind, Amanda, Melanie, and Shirley, is that when we get to the next step, let's have you on again. That'd be great.
That'd be
That'd be
awesome.
fun.
Thank
That'd be
Okay.
fun.
I really
Oh,
appreciate you joining me. Thank you, guys.